99X, it's Barnes and Leslie. We are inside the summer of X. Not officially summer yet, but it is sneaking up on us. And the concert landscape for the last year has been unheard of. I mean, I can't remember a time, even in the 90s and 2000s, where we had almost every band on our roster, the ones that are alive, coming through town. Can you, Fran?
It's just unbelievable. I've never seen it like this before.
Never. And now you're seeing weirdness happen. The J-Lo thing where she pulled out of all... First, she renamed her tour because it wasn't selling. And then she claimed she was at a 78% sell rate, which I don't believe because I saw the maps of these arenas, playing these huge arenas. And it was just pretty much the other way, 78% empty from the ones that I saw. And then the big banner one with the Black Keys, wasn't there some dirt with that? Didn't they like fire their manager or something?
Yes, they made this announcement. They canceled the tour. They've decided to go back to intimate venues. And then Patrick Carney went on X and said, we got blanked. So there's a lot to unfold there.
Yeah, let's bring Chris Black on, our buddy over at GQ who writes for GQ, and he did a big article on this. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
Doing good. And you're an Atlanta guy, right? You came from here?
Born and raised. Yeah. I moved to New York when I was like 24, so it's been a while, but I try to come back as much as possible.
Nice. And this whole thing, what caught your eye to even do a piece in GQ about it?
I think there's so much talk about the concert industry, whether it's, people complaining about ticket prices, whether it's, bands complaining about venues taking merch cuts, there's so much to talk about. And I think this, like the J-Lo to Black Keys, that's a big gap. Like those are two very different artists that are suffering from the same problem. And I found that very interesting.
I mean, people only have so much available income, Chris, and that may be one of the issues, that there's so many shows. And then if you've got, a lot of these big classic rock artists, like the Stones, for instance, and you're going to save up your money to go to that, you might not have money for these other shows. So it's just way too much. But can we talk about the Black Keys and what happened there?
Yeah.
I mean, I think they just overplayed their hand. And I think that with all artists that have had the success of the level that the Black Keys have, I mean, it's tough to kind of stomach the fact that maybe you can't sell the same amount of tickets you were selling 5-10 years ago.
Do you feel like they're blaming management?
Oh, I mean, that's what all artists blame management. I mean,
of course.
That is their job to manage them.
But I think that there's like an ego thing where if the manager said we should play smaller venues, they would have said no. You know what I mean? More than likely, that's what would happen. So I think it's interesting.
And it was weird that they even came out and said we're going to step back to play more intimate venues. But how much of this is greed? And how much of this is ego, or is it a weird mix? Because we, going back to like last September, you started seeing all these concerts announcing a year in advance, trying to get your money and get these tickets sold. And they weren't selling fast because then the avalanche of shows came, and now you've got to make a decision. Which way do you go?
No, absolutely. It's a post-COVID situation where I think people were rushing to go to everything just to be, with other people and experience live music again. And now I think you're right. There's too many shows. The prices are too high. And that's affecting artists at every level, big, small, or mid.
We're talking to Chris Black from GQ, weighing in on what is happening with the concert seasons and all these shows canceling or downsizing. An agent friend of mine had also mentioned, Chris, and maybe you can weigh in on this. A lot of the festivals are trying to be all things to all people. And that's another issue where some of the festivals are not doing well.
I mean, I look at these festival lineups and I just don't understand.
Right.
It used to be my co-host Jason did DJ at Just Like Heaven Festival in Los Angeles, which is like a super focused kind of Death Cab for Cutie, Postal Service, that era of music. And that does so well because it's so clear what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that when you look at these huge festivals, it's just like, I don't like 99% of this. Am I going to pay that much money to go see the 1% that I do? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Well, like look at Alanis Morissette, Joan Jett, and Morgan Wade. I mean, that is so obvious, targeted, packaged brilliantly. And look at that, it's sold out way in advance. But you have some of these other mishmashes that don't do well, but these packages like Toad the Wet Sprocket with Everclear and with whoever, it's obvious. It's a nostalgia trip, and it's also very similar in feel, and so they're selling lots of tickets. But the greed part is where you're getting this, who do we have? Who do we have? Yeah. Who can we throw in? We saw the suffering with Music Midtown, and it was brutal. But then on the flip side, Shaky Knees kicked ass.
Yeah, I mean, Shaky Knees is good. I mean, Shaky Knees is a good lineup that makes a lot of sense. That's I mean, and I think the fan and the consumer is smarter than we give them credit for. Like, I don't think they're going to buy tickets just to buy tickets. Like, they are spending their money only where they want to.
Yeah, nobody has a $500 plus a month concert budget. It just doesn't happen. I'm glad that we're able to give away a lot, because that's been a product of some of the low sales, is that we get a ton of these tickets that we can give away, which I'm glad that we can, to help people out. But at the end of the day, they are just pushing. And then with the fees, I think we're going to see a massive shift with all that's happening right now. With all of that, something big is going to come from it, and hopefully a nice scale back. I'm all about the smaller shows. Let's go to the Eastern. Let's go to the Buckhead Theater and just focus on one band and pay that price instead of trying to just pound us and drain our wallets.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Eastern's I've been to the Eastern several times, an amazing venue. And I think that is the future. I think that is the future.
So, Chris, what is doing well? I mean, outside of like the Taylor Swifts of the world, because you do see, someone like a Noah Kahan who's out there selling out, and Zach Bryan, like, who's doing well and why?
The people you just talked about, or Maggie Rogers is doing quite well. Like, she's been able to sell arenas in major markets. I think the Charlie XCX Troye Sivan tour is going to sell well. I think it has to be like a cultural moment to really sell. And I think that's what Maggie did. Maggie did this thing where she would do a small show to sell tickets to the big show. And I thought that was so smart, because you give your fans both. You give it intimate and you give it something much larger.
I was thinking about that because, the cultural moments like, or an anniversary, for instance, Green Day doing the 30th anniversary of Dookie, things like that, where the nostalgia's been brought in, but everybody owned that record.
I mean, Weezer's doing Madison Square Garden with Dinosaur Jr. Like, that's a great bill. That makes a lot of sense. And you're right. It's like playing the Blue Album all the way through is appealing to like a big generation of people.
Yeah, it's hard to break through right now with everybody begging for that money. But another big show that everyone owns that album, whether you are still a fan or not, Hootie and the Blowfish with Collective Soul and Edwin McCain is doing very well on the road. And that's coming here in September. And I think someone named Chris Black is coming here to do his live podcast show. Aren't you coming to Atlanta?
That's right. Yeah, we're coming to do How Long Gone at Terminal West on June 26th, which is soon. And we're going to have a special guest that we can't announce yet, but someone who lives in Atlanta for their filming, because they're filming. So it'll be fun. Dude, yeah, it'll be fun.
Come on, you can't drop that.
No, I can't. The rules are the rules. They've told me I can't. So
how big of a star? How big of a star?
Well, you said they're filming, so it's got to be a movie star, correct?
Not movie. Let's not go movie. Let's go TV. Let's go TV. I'll give you that. But right. someone that we are friends with and that like loves the city. So I think it'll be fun for us.
All right. Before we let you go, the last time we had you on, you did a big piece on Kings of Leon, and we were in this purgatory of we didn't know what was going to happen. And all of a sudden, the album comes out. I think it's brilliant. I think they've rebounded better than ever. Where are you on this now?
I think the album is good, but I'm not sure anyone cares. And that's, that's just the reality of the situation. I mean, so much great music, you guys know this, so much great music comes out, and just no matter how big you once were, it's hard to find the audience again, But beyond the diehards, it's hard. But fingers crossed for Kings of Leon. I want to see them win.
I do love it.
I think, too, when you're not consistent and you go away for a really long time, it is hard to rebound.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. It's so competitive. It's just the same as concerts.
Well, hopefully this time next year, we're not talking about how, damn, guys, we have no concerts anymore.
Yeah, please, no.
I know. We got to find him. We have to find a middle ground. Desperate for a middle ground.
All right, Chris Black over at GQ. Thank you, sir. It's good to catch up.
Good to see you guys. Thank you both. Have a good one.
This is The Morning X. It is 99X.